Alright, hello YouTube. Before we get into it, please hit like and subscribe and comment down below your favorite hero card. But today we've got Budget Hero Tribal deck. Oh, these are all my budget decks I've been building up. Budget Hero Tribal, my first go around was really bad and I tried making it a long time ago. I don't know how long ago. 09/27, 2024. Okay, so it's been like a week. Yeah. Yeah, a week. Yes, a week and some change. But the initial run through of Hero just didn't sort of mesh well together. So I like scrapped it until Necessity, where I wanted to build another budget deck for a friend. Shout out to them who will be watching this video. Wanted a Hero Tribal deck, so I'm like, okay, I'll revisit the concept. And initially I was still on the vibe that no, this deck isn't that really good to build because my initial version was running Arthur, two kings, two babies, and then it was also running more grab your swords. And so like the price had already gone up to $40, and I'm like, this isn't a good $40 deck. Like if I'm making a $40 deck, it should have a bit more oomph to it, like my Damage Matters deck. But this deck ended up being better than my Damage Matters deck, if you can believe that. Just because everything, upon revisiting it, everything started to click and tie together. Let's start with the most obvious problem whenever you build a budget deck. The biggest problem is always, where do I get my cards from? This deck has a very nice card draw package in Doc, Simba, and Basil here. Doc, it's just sort of every budget deck's dream card. When you play his character, you may discard your hand to draw two cards. You don't usually want to be playing him on two because then you'll be discarding a bunch of cards from your hand for only two cards. Doc is more of a late game card, and he doesn't have the hero card. But so I was like, four docs felt bad oftentimes, but I was able to come down to two because Simba Lost Prince is a really good draw engine in this deck, as well as Basil Great Mouse Detective. Simba gets buffed up by Ling and then buffed up by Philoctetes and buffed up, that's it really. But you also have Fire to Cannon, so it's easy to set up your opponent's characters to be killed by Simba. And then Basil is just a good late game character where you play him on 5. That's why there's sort of a lack of 5 drops. You aren't really supposed to play him on 6. You want to be playing him for his shift cost every time. But you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 basils, so you'll often be able to do it. But it's not a necessity, right? You have a lot of backup card draw. So this card draw package ended up really solid. Now, then this deck really came together. First off, I keep saying really came together. This deck I figured out was decent when I beat a Sapphire Steel ramp deck with it. I'm like, oh, okay. Because Anna Braving the Storm, if you just stick her turn 2, Sapphire Steel didn't have any answers for her, and a lot of decks don't have an answer for her. I had faced a Amethyst Steel deck with this as well. Like, I haven't tested it extensively, but once again, $21 deck. I beat a tier 1 deck with it. I'm pretty confident in recommending it. So Anna plus Anna again is what lets this deck sort of have an aggressive lore tempo game plan because it's hard to kill off your characters. They all have very solid quality stat lines and they all can punch back against your opponent's characters, especially if you stick a Ling out or a Philoctetes. And then the rest is just basically I found hero cards that were good and then recursion cards. Scrooge McDuck is actually one of the cards that finished off the deck, I was like, what? I'm missing 4 cards for this deck, and I don't want to just shove in random junk. But I had completely forgot about Scrooge's existence. You typically don't run him in Sapphire decks just because Sapphire already has so many quality uninkable cards that Scrooge McDuck becomes hard to include. But we only have 14 uninkables in this deck, so his inclusion was really easy here. Then I also had cut the Arthur King with Mickey Mouse Detective for a better 3-drop slot or more 3-drop slots, because before it had only the 8, which is not typically what you want for a deck that's trying to tempo off like this. So Mickey Mouse ended up being just sort of a nice filler card as well. Then finally, Donald Duck Buccaneer. This is probably one of the only decks where he is actually good because first off, hero tag, so he gets a lot of the bonuses from the hero tribal stuff. Second off, he's recursion or redundancy for Anna. And then if you get an Anna and a Scrooge out, or 2 Annas out, then if you have multiple characters that were able to stick, you're able to quest for 6, 8, even 10 lore a turn. Like, it's just good. So then you just run fire the cannons and grab your sword, just one of, because grab your sword is actually not that good in this deck. I just have it for the specific matchups of Emerald Amber and Emerald Steel discard control. That deck's always going to be brutal to face with this deck, though, just because of how valuable it is, or how much value that deck can find on each of its turns. And then, other than that, there's like not much else to say. The only other thing I will mention is that this deck has some pretty quality upgrades. Robin Hood. You can run Robin Hood Champion of Sherwood, and you can also run Beast Tragic Hero. If you have these cards lying around, I would recommend it, but they're definitely not needed. They're just like they're some of the strongest legendaries in the game. I don't think I need to explain to you why you would want to run these cards, but they have a pretty price tag on them. You only run these cards in the deck if you're planning on upgrading the deck into Steel Amber Song Choice, or Steel Song as it's often called, or upgrade into Emerald Steel, because both of these cards are staples in that. But anyways, that's it from me. I wish you all a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye!